Mr. Markle has agreed. He is our new interim part-time town administrator. He will be starting a week from today, Monday morning.
Couldn't get him any sooner, huh?
Well, you know.
Don't have to go over Northfield now.
So I thank you for accepting, and we look forward to working with you. All right. Next item on the agenda is Allen Mayo, and the cemetery is action on the Gilman Waite septic system bid award. Alan?
Well, we've been here a couple of meetings now with this, and we've gone round and round a little bit on it because of various issues with it. I've been talking with my commissioners over the past couple of weeks, and it's the feeling of all of us within the department, myself and the commission, that we would prefer to go with Frank Machete as the contractor. He is the only bid that we got at $34,500. We're a little concerned with having somebody volunteer to hold a license and oversee a project due to liability. I'm not so sure that the town still wouldn't be liable if something went wrong with the project, or we'd end up still fixing it after that, costing more money. So, and the fact that we don't have an awful lot of help in order to do it. The highway's short people, and so are we. So we feel that it would be in the best interest of the town to go with the contractor.
And in case you've missed more present for all the meetings, as Al, said, he's been here a couple of times. This has actually been bid twice, and the second bid actually ended up coming in. It was $5,000 less than the first bid.
Just about 5,000 last year.
So they did do something. And there was also talk of the town doing the work itself and saving some money, but for the reasons that Alan stated, they have chosen to go with the bid as submitted. So I would entertain a motion from the board to accept and award the bid to Frank Machete and Sons for the dollar amount of $34,500.
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the board?
Did we get any definitive answer on the question that was arisen about, because the work had been put out to bid, if we chose not to award the bid and did the work ourselves, was there any legal, did we get anything definitive on that?
I spoke with the Inspector General's office today. I spoke to him on a couple of matters, but I also asked that question, and no, there are no legal issues. If you decide to do, bid something out and you reject all the bids and do the work yourself, you can do that. Legally, it doesn't put you in. That was one of my concerns. Two or three meetings ago. I didn't specifically say that, but that was the concern I was alluding to. So I called the IG's office today, and I spoke with them on a couple of items, and that was one of them. So no, we wouldn't have been in trouble, but this is the way that they choose to go for the reasons that Alan said. Paul?
On behalf of the commissioners, one of the big things that we leaned towards was the project being started and completed before the softball season starts. So if we were to do it, then there's start now, stop, start now, then stop, and, you know, this is a project that we want to get done and out of the way. Thank you.
Yes.
How much money is left from the Pajari fund?
59,000 and some change
Before or after this?
before.
And, sorry. Could I just
All
ask
right.
a question?
Yes.
So if, Julie, if I heard you right, you asked the question how much money, sorry, was
okay.
left in the Pajari fund, and the answer was what?
59,000 and some change, I'm not sure of the
Okay,
exact.
and this would come out of that?
Yes,
And then are there, so that would leave, you know, not,
About
is this the
24.
largest portion that's left, or are there more expenses
there are more expenses.
that will deplete and then more than that, the Pajari fund, or?
It's hard to tell, it depends on what the pricing comes in at. We are looking for donations for things for the concession stand, like toilets and things like that.
Yeah.
And if we have to purchase some, that would end up coming out of that, but we're looking for donations.
Is there a, forgive my, is there a list somewhere of donations that you're looking for that
There is not.
could be put
there
out
is not
somewhere to the
presently right
public?
now. There is not presently right now, because we are taking each step of the project one step
Yep.
at a time.
Okay.
And the septic system has to be put in before we can even consider plumbing for the building. So that's the next step, is to start working up a list for the plumbing of the building.
Okay,
When you get that, if you would
yeah.
put that down in the office and we can make announcements or get it on the website, but at least make announcement that at the selectmen's meetings, the things you're looking for, either dollar, you know, the greenbacks or items.
I can tell you that I was working with FW Wet. That's as much as I can tell you. They were interested in doing some donating, I just don't know how much.
Great,
All set?
yes, thank you.
All right, yes.
Do we have any idea how much the savings would be if town did it themselves? Ballpark.
For materials, this doesn't include everything, but the bulk of the materials, it includes bulk tanks, the piping and the stuff outside the building. What it doesn't include is the cast iron piping and any gravel and stuff like that. The price that I got from Graves was $12,987 for the 2 tanks and most of the piping. That doesn't,
Roughly half.
roughly half, that doesn't include salaries, that doesn't include equipment use, that doesn't include gravel and backfill and those kind of things, and some of the piping to go inside the building. So,
All right. Okay. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes,
And yes. All right, Paul, Ellen, thank you.
thank you.
The next item is to post the job for the town administrator, the full-time position, to start at the beginning of fiscal year, July the 1st. I believe this came up at a prior meeting, and the feeling was by some members of the board to postpone it because of the budget and everything, but it's not something we're gonna put an ad in the paper and have a person hired within a week or two. It's a long, drawn-out process. I would expect it to take most of the 4 months. If you find someone who is employed, they give a notice, and that could be a month. So I think we start the process and work it as we go. And we will have assistance with this now. So that was my thinking of putting it back, putting it on the agenda again, is to look for a vote to begin the process, to post. We have a job description for the town administrator. And involved in not only voting to post the position, but the places where we would place the ads and begin the process of hopefully getting resumes or people interested in the position. Yes?
Yep. Yeah, I definitely agree that we need to move forward. Before we actually post the position, though, we need to form the committee, because the committee has got to be the first layer of the interview process. So we've got to have the committee in place. And I think it would behoove us to have Mr. Markle take a look at the job description that we've put together, just to see if he has any recommendations on anything that could be tweaked in it before we actually post it. But I think getting the committee formed has got to be our first task.
I would agree with Doug. I think the search committee should be formed because all of the preliminary work needs to go through that committee so that they can make recommendations to the board. Because not every member of the board, it can't be a quorum of the board to be on the search committee.
And there should even be a selectman on the search committee, I don't believe. And I don't believe we should let the committee be too large. I think 3 would be a good number, certainly no more than 5. But I think 3 is a good number because it's a small enough group that they can work well together, really exchange ideas. But 5 is, not bad. Certainly wouldn't
I think there
be more
should be
than
a
that.
member of the board because the town administrator is the person that works for us.
I thought though when Jeff was explaining the process too, as he said that typically there is not a select board person on the search committee because the search committee has to make its recommendations to the select board. Do you have any opinion?
Agree.
Yeah?
I agree. Search committee would screen down to 2, 3, 4, then the select.
Looking for, I have a copy of the job description, if you would.
Little homework.
I'm a pack rat, what can I, I'm a pack rat, what can I say? I mean, look at it, I'm a pack rat, I just keep everything.
Not too late to run.
That's pretty good, putting it away before you even start. Then you get a bunch of it.
So if we're going to have a search committee composed of 3 people, we should probably identify which, like, all community members or members of
Okay.
certain boards.
And if we follow the policies and procedures, a subject brought up at a meeting the first time does not get discussed until
Okay.
next meeting.
Next meeting. Okay.
So, a meeting next Monday, or wait 2 Mondays?
Well, we could still have discussion,
Take a
right?
broader approach to the agenda. It's included in the agenda item that you listed.
A search committee is not.
Action on search committee.
So,
It says action on
action,
search
search
committee.
committee, but we're not, but following our own procedures.
Okay.
I mean, we did vote them in place, and we're not gonna follow them, then,
Right. I mean, we're not posting the job right now to
We're not
begin with.
posting the job.
So
think we're just digging a deeper hole.
I mean, shouldn't we have some
If we,
discussion?
can we post it and form a committee, because
Well, I think it would be
as we
advisable.
post, I mean, when the job is posted, I mean,
Yeah.
do you think we're gonna hear from somebody like tomorrow? Where the
No, but
committee
once
would
it's
have-
posted, you can't change it. You'd have
Yeah,
to, yeah.
I'm just stretching it out farther and farther.
I think though that we're
Well,
stretching it out for good reason and good cause to take action on a search committee. I agree with,
So,
you know,
We'll
we
have
can't
to,
do that yet.
we'll have to post a notice on
Okay.
the website
Right.
for members interested in the committee. Do you wanna do it that way? Or do you want to pick?
Well, are we gonna discuss that at the next meeting, or are we
I
discussing it
think
now?
we should discuss the
Okay,
the makeup
composition now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, how, the procedure, how you're gonna come up with membership on the committee?
Right.
So I would recommend that we have a member from the advisory board, because they know financial matters, as well as I know they have experienced members with the interviewing process, hiring people. I think we should have at least one member at large from the community. Ideally, it would be somebody with personnel experience, but can't guarantee that. I don't, you know, I struggle with if, you know, either Holly or Kate shouldn't be on the committee, because they're the person that's gonna have to be working with them on a one-on-one, day-to-day basis. So I think their impressions and their thoughts would be important to this process.
Could Mr. Markle be on that search committee?
I don't see why not.
Are you
Either a
able?
member or I think attend the meetings and be in an advisory capacity would be the
Anyways.
other option there.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure what other town boards, other than the advisory board, would make sense to make it be a required member.
One member of the advisory board, one at large. Bob is an advisory, and third,
My opinion, what it should be Kate or Holly.
I think that Kate wants to say something.
you need to spend more time here at,
I see her saying yes, but shaking her head no.
I think she's saying no.
No, I don't think that would be a good idea for Holly and I to be on it.
Yeah, pick your own boss.
In the end, when it gets down to the last few, I do agree on meeting them and having our input, but I don't believe in having us in the whole process.
There may be a member of the audience who has a suggestion.
Department heads or department boards?
I'd like to ask a question. You're gonna pick a pretty important job in town. Let's keep it to the people in town, to the residents and voters in this town, to pick who we want. We don't wanna pick people from Springfield, or like, to get some on the water board, to live in Winchendon, and on the, keep it in town. People that pay the tax, let them be on it. You don't need to take somebody from Mathol or Greenfield or someplace to pick who's running your town.
I agree with that.
We have enough of that stuff. Divo and them on the water tanks and stuff.
Good suggestions, do
Yes. No, I'm looking at Mr. Laporte hiding back there. No, I thought you had, no, being cautiously quiet back there.
Just enjoy my coffee. Try not.
I mean, do you feel 3 is enough, or should we have a 5?
I think are we having a hard time coming up with like who should be on the committee? I think 3 is a good number. It's odd, but it's what you said, that you can have some, you know, maybe intimate's not a good word, but some more personalized conversation, you know, between the 3 of them, and not, maybe 5 might be too much.
So if we have the advisory board person, then
A member at
2 members
large
at
and-
large, or do we, if we
Yeah.
only want 1 member at large, then we have to designate another person.
Either a member of the board or 2 at large, or 2 citizens.
Yeah.
2 citizens.
Okay. How long are we gonna put that out for? And deadline for submitting your names? And when will we pick and appoint them? 2 weeks from now?
Yeah, max.
On the 10th?
I agree. 2 weeks is
Yep.
sufficient amount of time.
Um,
Although with 2 members at large, it's difficult to get members at large. Our capital planning committee doesn't have, we've had an opening for a member at large for, you know, forever.
Post this on the website as the committee. Actually, we have to create a search committee, and then,
Right.
okay.
So do we want to vote the search committee tonight, or is that next Monday?
You want to, I mean, this Monday coming up?
Yeah.
A week from today?
Right.
To create the, do you want to have further thought on the membership of the committee and come in a week from today to create the committee?
I'm just
and then
concerned that
post
if
it?
we wait
Well,
another
yeah,
week
we'll
and then
wait.
we post
Well-
it for 2 weeks, now we're
The
out
end of
3 weeks, and
February.
yeah, I know it's really hard, so now we're out even further, and people are, you know, it is an important job, but yet we can't really post the job without, I mean, I have
Without
love
the
some,
committee, right.
so I think,
If I may, the advisory board, in anticipation that basically what Mr. Markle had said, somebody from finance, last Wednesday, we voted Mike Green to be our representative. He presently is IT and software super manager for Tyco. He manages 35 people, not only in Westminster, but internationally in Canada. So he has plenty of experience on interviewing and going through applications. So that's the individual that we have chosen to represent as far as the advisory board. We'll submit his name this evening as the person that we have for the advisory board.
Okay.
All right,
so is the advisory board a member at large and
2 members at large.
2 members at large, then we would really, you'd want like not an even number, right? Does it
Right, so
matter?
3,
Your
right.
advisory
2 members
board
at
is
large
one.
in the advisory
Right.
board, and then Mr. Markle, you said that you would serve in an advisory capacity? Okay, great. So I say we put it on the website then, right? And then
Right.
we,
So do you want me to make a motion to form the
Yes.
search committee?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get at. All right, I will make a motion that we form a search committee for the position of town administrator.
second,
All right, motion made and seconded. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Diane?
yes.
And yes. Okay.
I would also suggest we put it on the website. We ought to also put the slide up on Channel 8.
Contact.
Well, we haven't voted.
Okay. So when do we want to be able to appoint people? When do they have to get their applications in?
Close of business. Is
Would it
that
be the
next,
6th of February?
Our next meeting would be what, February 10th?
The 10th. So Thursday would be the day we're open, so that would be the 6th.
Or could we do noon on that Monday?
Noon on the 10th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you comfortable with that, seeing the names on?
What was the date? I'm sorry.
Noon time on the 10th,
Yep.
and then get them emailed?
Mm-hmm.
We should also word it though that those folks should be here that night of the 10th, so that if we want to ask them questions, we could. They have to submit their interest for appointment and then be present on the 10th.
So it's gonna get posted on the website tomorrow. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have one question. If you only have anybody from at large, and we only have one member from the advisory board, where do we go from there? We haven't had too many luck from getting from, I'm just pointing that out, just the anticipation that if you don't, you need to have a backup plan.
I believe we could do, we didn't, I think we just use 2 selectmen, if that's what it comes down to. That's what we did. 2 selectmen went through the town coordinator's position, went through the fire chief's applications. So if we had to, we'd do that, and with Bob advising, looking over. That would be.
At least, I want people to at least know that you have a backup plan. If you don't get it, that's important.
All right, so we voted, committee, it will be posted, and we will see that then, all right. All right, the next item is vote to open the warrant for the special town meeting. With the town bylaw, 14 days, and the state requirement, 14 days, that's 28 days. So if we open it tonight, and close it 14 days from tomorrow, excluding we should be able to deal with those on the 10th February.
Are we counting today?
And, because we have to be ready for March the 8th.
All right, I will make a motion to open the special town meeting warrant to be held on March 8th, today, and then it will close at noon on February 10th.
close it on Thursdays, that give Bob and Kate and Holly time to get it together if we close at noon on the 10th to have it ready for us.
We don't have to post it until 14 days before prior, so we'll have at least a week,
Okay.
okay? And we're probably gonna have to meet to vote the articles. Because in my opinion, if we don't know what our certified free cash is, I don't know why we would, hold the meeting. But it's gonna depend on what articles come in.
Okay, so we have a motion to open.
Second?
All right. You all set?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And yes. All right, the next item is discuss a letter received from the DOR.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
the agenda had proposed budget articles for the special town meeting.
If,
Does the Board of Selectmen have a proposed budget articles for the special town meeting? I know we just
Right.
voted to open the warrant, but the agenda also had an item
does anyone have
This thing
any proposed tonight?
I don't right now.
No, but we've already got to start, looking at what we're going to do if the cash doesn't come in. I mean, we can't, if we're intending to cut more than just expenses, we've got to get focused on that.
I put that on in case any selectmen had, an idea. Yes.
At several of the meetings, people have said, where do we go from here, what are the ideas? And it just seems that things are getting pushed further and further, and although we don't have a free cash number, I think many of the recommendations from the advisory board and the Department of Revenue report don't recommend using free cash except as a last alternative. And I would urge the board to consider working with the departments on what they can do with their budgets, and perhaps if we have a $500,000 shortfall, addressing it as a third from budget cuts, a third from free cash, and a third from an override, or 25%, 25%, 50%, or something. But it just seems like there's nothing on the table except let's cross our fingers and hope the free cash will cover it and then deal with it next year.
Have we gotten any more information on how close they are to closing?
I spoke with the accountant last Thursday. They are looking at things from the treasurer's office as far as the cash book reconciliation, the general ledger, and if there are any little items that have come in or need to be adjusted. Actually just doing a second look to make sure all the numbers, because some of the entries, when they were done in closing 13, and now there's a possibility of a small shift, a change And I keep asking the town accountant, and he basically keeps telling me he doesn't want to give me an estimate because he doesn't want to say it's this number and then a week or two from now he has to come back and say it's more or less. He wants to wait until he has definitive number to speak, which I think is responsible on his part.
And I would agree, but we need to know, is that gonna be next week, or is that gonna be 3 weeks, or is that gonna be 2 months from now? That's what we really need to know.
And basically it has been, when he is complete, it's complete. I just ask the questions and that's the answer I get. My thought for an article is an override. That's my thought. People don't want to hear it, but even without the shortage, I believe that it, and I've said it many times for different reasons, that an override is needed to get a tax rate to the point where it can pay for the things that have to get paid. As I stated the last meeting or the meeting before, I forget, there was a meeting with the Department of Revenue on the Worcester County retirement system, and Templeton's share will be increasing by $85,000. So the tax rate that comes about with the override for the school assessment and the increased hours, with that additional 85,000, even if you make an adjustment that some of it comes from the light department share, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's 20,000, we still have, the 65,000 to come up with. If things don't go down, they go up. And a tax rate that's basically the same as it was 6 years ago, a number of years ago, I mean, it's on the assessor's website that tracks the tax rate, how it's been. Been here and then maybe gone up a little bit, gone down, and everything has been going up, the tax rate has not, which is why I support a tax override. Expenses can't keep going up, and we're shackled with that Proposition 2.5, which at the time was probably a good idea, but maybe not looked as far forward as maybe, because just look at inflation, it's more than the 2.5%. So you have expenses that go up, and you're strapped with the 2.5% increase. I mean, that's all you can do without an override. And the town's budget is no different than your budget or anyone else's. Things go up, gas goes up, food goes up. I mean, what do? You either cut someplace, or you try to work more hours, or bring more money in. And that is my thought, and that would be my proposal for a warrant article to put, just an override. I don't think the budget, we can cut there much and maintain the services that you all expect. It's a hard bullet to swallow, but that would be my proposal. And it's not an article that has to be put on right tonight, but that would be mine. If you're asking for an opinion from the board, well, as one board member, I would say an override to cover the 505,000. Plain and simple. And you can throw stuff at me, but that's just my opinion of where we need to go. If that answers your question, or.
Well, I guess 2 weeks from now, we'll find out when we close the law warrant, what they are.
Yes.
But I think that's a great idea, yeah. Well, you can pay me now or you can pay me later, but it ain't no
Right.
free.
Yes.
What does the state say why your retirement is going up so much? What do they give you for an excuse?
I did not go to the
Well, they
meeting.
should go into it. Why has it jumped up that high?
I did not go to the meeting, but I can check with the treasurer because he was at the meeting along with Jeff Ritter. I just got the sheet that shows the cost. I believe it goes back to a number of years back where they were readjusting how they figured the formula, and they kind of kicked the can down the road and stretched it out. we're gonna stretch it out over a 3-year period, and I think that, I'll probably get it wrong, but I think that time has come where these increases have to start, and that's part of the reason. And I think they're also switching, there's a word for it, the way they are figuring the formula. So it's all how they're figuring retirement. And it's one of those things that it's a problem all over. It's why, like Detroit and out in California, you have towns either going bankrupt or facing bankrupt because of these unfunded pension retirement liabilities that just keep building. But even the towns that are trying to put away a little bit of money, they're only going to have enough for 2 or 3%. You just can't. It's almost impossible to put away the amount of money that you need to cover these expenses. I mean, that's, it's $500,000, and it was already $500,000, it's going up, it's gonna be a little over $500,000, and then that's a big chunk of money to keep setting aside with limited amount of growth. Yes.
Did we ever get a report how much tax is owed to the town? I saw Athol's paper last week, they had over $700,000 listed.
It's on the DORs, you can get a list from the.
Why isn't it publicized in the town here? Other towns do it.
I'm gonna talk about that later, Pete. But it's, as of 2012, it's a little over $700,000 in back taxes owed to the town of Templeton.
You get the same services, I don't tax.
I think I owe the Board of Selectmen an apology for not doing a better job on Tuesday evening. Because from comments made after I got through talking, I became aware that some people maybe completely misunderstood the point that I was making. I'm fully aware, after having been involved in establishing the tax rate in this town for well over 20 years, the procedure to get certified free cash. I have no problem with that. That wasn't the point that I was trying to illustrate here on Tuesday evening. The point that I was trying to illustrate, that if you had your town accountants capable of coming up with a rather definitive number of 505,000, that maybe if they understood the flow of money, that maybe at least, that maybe they could give you some ballpark figure of the minimum amount that you maybe could anticipate in certified free cash. If you become aware of the funds available for a financial year, the one amount of money is certified free cash that is not part of your current levy limit or the cherry sheet or receipts. It's money that the town already owns. It's their money that has been raised in previous year and maybe not expended. If you had that minimum amount, then you could do some financial planning. You don't have to be scared if your minimum amount projected, not the maximum, the minimum. If it was, say, $100,000, if you ended up getting $300,000, you don't have to worry because the additional $200,000 can be utilized for your next financial year. It's your money. You've already gotten it from a source. If you had some minimum amount, then you could do some financial planning. If you let's take $100,000, then you can say, all right, where do we need to come up with this other $405,000? I'm impressed. We should maybe take some lessons from Miss Miller from the school department. She does an excellent job of blending the common knowledge for the financial year that we are involved in the school department to project the next financial year. She doesn't have absolute figures. She has estimates. And from there, she bills to project the next financial year budget. For some reason, we don't seem to be able to do that. So I just wanted to correct. I apologize, I should have done a better job. Thank
I
you.
thought you did pretty good, actually.
Mr. Spring has his hand up.
Yes.
If I may, I sat with the accountant also, but I want to take and address the question about the retirement. The actual reason for it, as I understand it, is actuaries got involved. If people know what actuaries do, they look at life expectancy. Unfortunately, as a population, our life expectancy is growing. So when they take that in consideration, that means that you're going to have to pay out that retirement to somebody much longer they anticipate. That's one of the reasons. The other is that they can end up going along with Mr. Dennis's question as far as the accountant goes. There's a lot of reconciliation, and I understood what he spoke to me about today. But one of the things that you got to understand is that the school department presently has what they call Munis, which is the Cadillac of software. We have just moved into Vadar, and we're still transitioning in 13 from cities and towns to Vadar. That's a big issue. Once we get into Vadar in 14, the process should go much smoother.
All right.
I
Yes.
just have one comment to make. At the MMA conference on Saturday, actually it was Friday, there was a panel discussion on fiscal sustainability, and they were discussing OPEB liabilities, and it's basically retiree health care. Pensions are funded right now, they have $4 trillion set aside, which would cover about 60% of the projected costs of those pensions. The healthcare, the OPEB benefits, have $100 million set aside. There's just not enough set aside to pay for those costs, those anticipated costs. And Templeton is not alone. We're not the only community who has not been setting aside, who hasn't done the GASB 45 or whatever the heck it is, done it actuarially to figure out what our liability is for retiree health care. Pensions, we're okay. We'll be okay. But the costs will keep going up. For OPEB, it's something that's hard to consider funding when, we're looking around at a $500,000 shortfall.
Yes, sir. All right, we have sent, the board has voted to send a letter to the DOR in regards to the water department and the enterprise fund status and where it falls under and where it doesn't. Actually, I think we sent a couple of letters. We finally heard back from the Department of Revenue. From Gerald Perry, the Director of Bureau of Accounts for the Department of Revenue. Dear board members, we are in receipt of your letter to Commissioner Pitter regarding the effect of special legislation that combined the water and light services into a single municipal department. We usually defer to municipal council with respect to the meaning and intent of special acts. We only recently became aware of this act, but it appears to impact the Department of Revenue's regulatory authority over certain town accounts and setting of the tax rate. Therefore, we offer the following. The special act in question clearly abolished the water department under the jurisdiction of the selectmen acting, we assume, as water commissioners, and placed the operation of water service within a single consolidated lighting and water plant department, the Templeton Municipal Lighting and Water Plant. The light plant manager is given responsibility for management of the operation of the water service as well as the light service and So doing exercises those powers, duties, rights found in General Law, Chapter 164. Under General Law, Chapter 164, a municipal light department is operated by a light manager under the direction and control of the light board. And they reference General Law, Chapter 164, subsection 56. The manager has full charge of the operation and management of the department, including keeping of accounts. With respect to fiscal matters generally, under General Law, Chapter 164, light plants are not separate legal entities and need the approval of their municipalities' legislative bodies to borrow. And legislative bodies is town meeting vote. Importantly, however, unlike other municipal departments, they have independent budgetary authority to spend revenues received in connection with the operation of the plant for departmental expenses without appropriation by the legislative body. They reference General Law, Chapter 164, subsection 56 to 57A, Municipal Light Commission of Peabody versus the City of Peabody. That's a court decision. Consequently, a light department's anticipated expenditures and revenues are not reported on the tax rate recapitulation for calculation of the tax rate. In addition, light plants must adhere to accounting standards established by the Department of Public Utilities, not to those prescribed by the Director of Accounts under General Law, Chapter 44, subsection 38. It appears to us that by consolidating water and light plant operations into a single department operated and managed under General Law, Chapter 164, the Special Act makes Chapter 164 govern water service budgets and accounts as well. Water service budget no longer requires approval of the town's legislative body, and its anticipated expenses and revenues no longer are reported as part of the tax rate. We read the last sentence of Section 1 of the Act regarding separate books and operations of the water plant as an enterprise fund to simply mean that the consolidated department is to segregate the financial transactions of the water service into a separate account, presumably for rate setting as well as financial reporting purposes. We note that the Act does not expressly define enterprise fund as meaning the fund a city or town may establish for particular proprietary operations designated as enterprises under General Law, Chapter 44, subsection 53F and 1/2. The revenues, expenses, and assets of such an enterprise are segregated from the general fund of the municipality and maintained as a separate account. But the municipal department operating the enterprise is still governed by the usual municipal budgeting and accounting laws. More specifically, the budget for any such department is subject to appropriation by the municipality's legislative body. Departmental appropriations and estimated enterprise revenues are reported in the tax rate, and accounting of financial transactions is governed by standards prescribed by the Director of Accounts. Those budgetary and accounting procedures are wholly incompatible with the budgetary and accounting procedures governing municipal light departments under General Law, Chapter 164, described above. Therefore, it seems to us inconsistent with the purposes of placing the water operation under the management and control of the light department to interpret enterprise fund as other than a separate account for services provided to the public on a user charge basis similar to the operation of a commercial enterprise, which is its usual and accepted means under governmental accounting standards. In your letter to Commissioner Pitter, you made the following statement: for reasons unknown to us, the department allowed or required the town to retain on its books enterprise fund receipts for the water department from the year enacted until fiscal year 2011. Please be advised that a review conducted by this office regarding Templeton's tax rate dating back to fiscal year 2007 did not reveal any submissions for water enterprise receipts. Signed, Gerald D. Perry, Director, Bureau of Accounts. The board has subsequently received a letter from the general manager of Templeton Light and Water, John Driscoll. It's Templeton Board of Selectmen, attention chairman. Mr. Bennett, the Templeton Municipal Light and Water Plant respectfully requests that the Water Department's fiscal operating budget be removed forthwith from the annual town meeting warrant as an article. It is now clear to both governmental bodies involved, the Select Board and the Light and Water Commission, based on the Massachusetts Department of Revenue's recent letter of January 9th, 2014, which I just read, the town selectmen do not have fiscal authority over the water department's fiscal operating budget. Since 2000, this has been the position of the Templeton Municipal Light and Water Plant and of its council pursuant to Chapter 93 of the Special Acts of 2000. Both the Light and Water Commission and the General Manager know this recent letter from the state's Department of Revenue has now removed any and all ambiguity surrounding the approval of the Water Department's fiscal operating budget. The Templeton Municipal Light and Water Plant shall, as a courtesy, continue to provide to the Select Board a copy of the Water Department's fiscal operating budget once it has been approved by the Light and Water Commission at regularly scheduled Light and Water Commissioners' meetings with a quorum present, as it has done in past years. We thank the Select Board for their anticipated cooperation. Signed, John M. Driscoll. I sent a question to the Department of Revenue asking why the only other light and water combined department, Littleton, their water enterprise fund operating budget continues as of this past spring 2013, goes before town meeting. He said he would look into that. So this was a subject that the board voted on in open meeting, sent a letter, and as I said, I think we sent 2 letters requesting an answer or something from Department of Revenue. We have received it, and the manager of the Light and Water has responded to us with the letter that I just say. So, just so you know that when we request something, we send it, it does take a while, but eventually we do get an answer from down there in Boston ways.
If I can.
You may not agree with it, like it, or whatever, but they did finally answer the question. It took a while, but they did answer it. Yes?
I think it's very important that we note, so that everybody knows, that even though their departmental expenses don't need appropriation by town meeting, their debt does. It says right here that approval of the municipality's legislative body to borrow. That the light plant is not a separate legal entity and needs the approval of the municipality's legislative body to borrow. So they can't take on debt without town meeting approval. So if we choose to make a response back to Mr. Driscoll, I think we need to highlight that piece of information because he failed to acknowledge that in his letter to us.
I would also like to follow up on that borrowing because I know for the wind turbine, there was a borrowing of $3.8 million for the wind turbine, and it was never voted at town meeting. So I would like to see, I have not seen the votes taken at town meeting, and I believe that's a necessary protection for the town, that town meeting has approved this borrowing. I know it's $3.8 million because I was a light and water commissioner when they did the borrowing. The other thing I would like for the board to consider is to send this information to the Inspector General. I believe we sent a letter to the Inspector General. And I think this may help clarify some of the position. One other thing that I would like the board to consider is to look at having the Light and Water Department process their own payroll and vendor warrants. A lot of that work is done by the accountant and by the treasurer, and I don't believe we should be doing that. I believe it amounts to about 30% of the workload for our treasurer and for our accountant. The other consideration I would like the board to take up at the next meeting is to calculate a pilot payment for the water department Under Chapter 164, Section 47C, subsection J. Here, we'll just take these, I'll read it from this one. There is a section, except as provided for herein, a municipal lighting plant cooperative shall be exempt from paying taxes, including but not limited to taxes on its income and real and personal property situated within the Commonwealth and owned by the municipal light plant cooperative, provided, however, that the cooperative shall agree, in lieu of property taxes, to pay any governmental body authorized to levy local property taxes, the amount which would be assessable as local property taxes on the real and tangible personal property, if such property were the property of a domestic corporation. Provided further, that no such municipal lighting plant cooperative shall be allowed to commence any such operations allowed pursuant to this section or exercise any such powers pursuant to subsection D until such payment in lieu of taxes is executed. The cooperative shall pay all sales or excise taxes which are properly assessed on its business activities under this section to the extent such taxes are assessed against domestic corporations. The letter from Gerard Perry states that the water enterprise falls under Chapter 164, not Chapter 44, Section 53F and a half. So they should follow, I believe we should follow the law and assess a pilot payment to the water department. And I believe we should go, we need the revenue, we need the receipts. We should follow up on this. So I would like this to be considered at our next meeting.
As for the borrowing for the wind turbine, along with the hearing that was held for the rate survey rate increase hearing, that was held the same day and time as our special town